Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth, and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And welcome back to Big Mouth, and you can keep this and every other conversation I ignite going over on my Twitter at Movies TV Mad and on my Instagram, Big Mouth. Welcome to Wednesday's edition of the dceu Daily. There's some things I forgot to message in my excitement over the release the Snyder Cut week. Jay Oliver talking to a troll. I shall read out his comments there. I shall also talk about how far we've come as a movement and where we were before we were a movement and how naive and innocent we were, just naive and innocent fans. And I will talk about the little reveal I came up with yesterday on the DCEU Extra, where I did this whole video listening to this podcast with one of the Justice League leagues. And this was before the theatrical cut was ever released. So let's get on with today's show. Yes, Jay Oliver is always busy waiting for trolls to come at Zack Snyder, to come at Justice League, and to come at our movement. And this is brilliant again. So this is the Boomer. Hat honor. No picture, of course. I'm just saying, this way of doing it, commentating on every single post WB makes, is toxic. It's no different from people who commented Save Spider-Man on all of Sony's posts. I want to see the Snyder Cut, but this is not the way to do it. This is interesting. The people who said Save Spider-Man weren't being toxic. They wanted Spider-Man to remain in the MCU, and that was their right. And that's why they were saying Save Spider-Man. Now, all of us Snyder fans and DCEU fans were bantering them and making fun of them. But, in a way, he's right there. But I don't think they were wrong to do it, and we're not wrong to comment. The reason we comment on all WB's posts, it's a tactic to try and get the cut. That's all it is. It's not about toxicity. Anyway, my friend, well, not my friend, I wish he was my friend, but my old mate Jay, I'm sure a lot of important WB execs noticing what's trending on social media. Why would an intern love to bug a higher up about it? Don't you know what interns do at a studio? Execs have smartphones and are constantly on social media. I worked on the Scoob movie. So I think this is actually replying to somebody else. So that was somebody else I was reading out. So Jay's not actually replying to him. Anyway, confusing, right? In fact, this whole mess is because of execs reading social media and believing it to be the gospel truth. The whole "it's too dark, needs more jokes, it's colourless, it should be more like Marvel, etc." You can trace back to the bandwagon of social media. So yay, I think it works. Oh, wow. He's done it again, hasn't he? He's done it again. Jay Oliver, again, I am not worthy of you. Brilliant. He just knows how to sit these people down. And it's absolutely amazing. It really is absolutely fantastic. Now, this might come as a shock to you. Something else I missed yesterday. I think when we were tweeting about Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman doing the release of Snyder Cut thing, Grace Randolph on Twitter, and there's a reason I didn't see it because she's blocked me, she actually hashtagged release the Snyder Cut because apparently fans asked her politely. So, well done, Grace. No matter what you think of me, you don't remember me, you just one in the millions, you've blocked, right? But yeah, all credit and respect to Grace Randolph, who's always said she is a Snyder aficionado, she's a Snyder fan. Not necessarily think she loves Man of Steel that much, but she certainly loved Batman v Superman. And there's a bit of controversy about Grace because she claims she went on to the set visit, and then another blogger said she wasn't there of the Justice League movie. So very interesting stuff. God, bloggers hating on bloggers, fans hating on fans. It's terrible. But this is what social media is all about. And so yesterday, right, when I read this kind of leaked Justice League plot, which was actually leaked before the actual theatrical cut came out, it was very interesting because it described everything, all the information that Zack's posted on Vero for us. So I was really excited reading this because basically I was reading the plot synopsis for the Snyder Cut, which is brilliant. So one of the elements of these leaks was that at the end, Clark and Lois get married, takes her to the apartment. Swanwick's there. He reveals himself as Martian Manhunter and tells Clark that Braniac is on his way. Now, I never knew about this at all. And it's I mean, Zack's never mentioned Braniac, but it is looking like Braniac was Zack's plan for MOS2. Now, some fans are kind of split on this, saying, was it earned for such a powerful being to be in a Superman movie, or should it be something so powerful that the Justice League face together? Look, I believe that Supergirl would have been in this movie. This would have been a Superman-Supergirl crossover, for sure. We had Supergirl prequel comics, Zack did that as well, which was amazing and very exciting as part of the build-up of the Man of Steel movie. So, I think Supergirl was going to be in MOS2, and for me, I love Braniac. And the only time we've really seen a great live-action version that kind of epitomises what we've seen in the comics is the Krypton TV show. If you haven't seen him on there, you should, because he's awesome. They spent a lot of money on him. And what a shame they cancelled that show. But I think Zack Snyder doing Brainiac alongside David Goyer and Chris Terrio, whoa, I would watch the hell out of that. That sounds amazing, and that's very, very exciting. Now, this is an element of the Snyder Cut that's very, very interesting. Will we see it? Elements that tease Ben Affleck's The Batman, which was basically Deathstroke, wasn't it? Meeting Lex Luthor. But in the Snyder Cut, apparently, Lex Luthor, we actually see Lex Luthor getting broken out of Arkham Asylum by Deathstroke. Now, the theatrical cut left that in the post-credit scene when Deathstroke and Lex Luthor meet up on the boat. So obviously at that point, they were still looking at going with Ben Affleck's The Batman. So at that point, when they were making Justice League, that was happening. It was only because of the response to Justice League, and obviously Ben Affleck's had some health problems with his alcoholism. There were issues. And then Ben was out. As the director of The Batman, he was just going to act in it. And I think it was a slow process. First he steps down as director, then he steps down as actually being in it. And I think that was always going to happen. Once he stepped down from one, he was going to step down from the other. So there's elements of the Snyder Cut that definitely tease the future, the then future of the DCEU. I do want those things to remain in there. I want Zack's vision. That's the point. I want us to see the continuing saga after Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. So we don't want anything taken out because fans might put one and one together and get 500. Let's see it. Because really, the Snyder Cut is an advert for getting Zack back on the DCEU proper. And I think if people like what they see, and let's face it, it's going to be better than what we've seen. But that's not good enough. Anything. Me eating a worm on I'm a Celebrity, get me out of there is kind of an improvement to the theatrical cut of Justice League. Me sweeping this floor will be an improvement to that. But I want people to be wowed. This is an important moment now because this movement has reached out to the mainstream movie audience and they're very, very interested. They're very, very intrigued in what we're talking about and all the information. I speak to a lot of mainstream movie fans that are saying to me, look, I'm not sure how I feel about Zack Snyder, but, you know, what they did to him was wrong. I'd like to see it. So you see, we have the intrigue now. And this is a very exciting, interesting moment. We could make this film a big hit. I'm still not convinced that there's no potential in the Snyder Cut not being in theatres for a prolonged period. This could be a very embarrassing moment for what Kevin Sugihara put together. If, let's say, the Snyder Cut made proper theatrical money. It's not possible, why not? The marketing's been there for 2 years, people are intrigued, everybody wants it now, we're all on the same side, even most of the mainstream movie-going crowd. So there's a big potential here for Warner Brothers to make money, and they know it. And that's why I think the Snyder Cut is coming. I'm starting to believe HBO Max won't be the first place it hits. I think cinemas to see this, a Zack Snyder film should be marvelled, no pun intended, in a cinema. Because that's where it was meant to be first seen. Just like BVS and like MOS. So I think a theatrical release, a mini theatrical release, is definitely a possibility. We don't know what Warner Brothers are thinking. Now, RT Snyder Cut have been repeatedly saying that they are watching. They are watching, and we know from what Jay Oliver says that they take notice of social media activity. Of course they do. That's how they get their marketing right. That's how they make their films. We know that. They do research. They look at what fans want. But that's weird because these studios hardly ever give us what we want, which is really, really funny. And so the potential here, and this is why I was talking about MOS2, Supergirl, and Braniac. I think the potential here is extraordinary because this puts Zack's arc in the mainstream audience's frame, and they'll get to decide, not us. Ultimately, it will be them who get to decide. Do we want more of this? How they get to decide is if this film gets lots of eyes on it when it's released. Hopefully, first of all, in cinemas. I believe there's an opportunity here. So we must keep on pushing. So we did really, really well again. I think about 30k tweets again for Ezra Miller's The Flash. I got involved. It was a bit of an inconvenient time yesterday here in Cyprus. It was near dinner time. It was near the early evening. But I did put as many tweets as I could, and I retweeted so many. And so it was really good, really positive again. All the Release the Snyder Cut fans together, not apart. A couple of people can't help themselves, I'm afraid, but I still respect those people. I still love those people, but I just wish they'd pack in the negativity towards each other. Anyway, very successful. So tonight, now, I'm assuming because yesterday was an hour later than the day before, I'm looking at Cyprus time about 8 p.m, maybe UK time about 6 p.m, where this will kick off. So tonight is Ray Fisher. Ray Fisher, unlike Ez, has got a Twitter tag. So I'm assuming what we're doing tonight is saying what we love about him, atting him, then hashtag Release the Snyder Cut. Now, it's really important you only have one hashtag, Release the Snyder Cut. And don't post anything just like an hour or so before, because it ruins the momentum. So wait until, follow RT at RT Snyder Cut, right? And wait for them to tell you when it's time to start tweeting. Now, I hope they haven't done it already because with the American times being weird, I don't think that they have. I think it'll be about, if you're in Europe, about early this evening again. So looking forward to that. So follow at RT Snyder Cut and find out the rules. It's not because they're trying to tell you what to do. They know, they understand the algorithm of Twitter. They understand how this works. So it's very important we all follow their lead, not because they think they're leading us, it's because they know what's best. So at first I had a theory that RT Snyder Cut was Warner Brothers. Stupid theory. I've got a new theory now. Are you ready? It's Zack Snyder. RT Snyder Cut is Zack Snyder. I'm convinced. And if it is, good for him. I mean, that would mean he's so involved in this movement, and so he should, because this is about him. But Zack did post something as we were tweeting about Ezra, because it was about The Flash. Let me see if I can find it on my Instagram, Big Mouth. Let's have a look. Where are we? Here we are. Let's see if you can see that. Miller is The Flash. He posted this on Vero as we were all hashtagging yesterday. Freaking awesome. I really, really want to see that. It looks like the boom tree. Is that a boom tree? Not sure. I'm not sure what he's actually doing. He's got his hand out. Anyway, it looks freaking awesome, Zack. Zack Snyder, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for Man of Steel and Batman v Superman and your bravery and, all the personal trials you and your wife, Deb, have gone through. We just want to see your film. And I believe we're getting there. And I think you realise we're in the end straight of this now. So it's important, everyone, when RT Snyder Cut tells you to tweet the fuck out of yourself. Do it until you've got no fingers anymore. So important. Right. Looking forward to that tonight. Don't forget, my Instagram, Big Mouth. Actually, let's give you my exact Instagram. Big Mouth 11289. Now, my Instagram is the extension of this channel. It's where I can do bite-sized 1-minute videos throughout the day. Not just talking about the Snyder Cut, but talking about films and entertainment in general. On my story, you may see me having a cigarette and trying to look cool. Just ignore all that. There's a lot of movie chat. So have a look for me on there. Now, final part of today's show. It's not news. It's not gossip. I want to talk about us. Me and you as a fandom. Do you remember going to see the Justice League movie. You weren't a movement. I wasn't a movement. We were just movie fans. We loved Man of Steel, we loved BVS, and we were going for the next saga. We were sold a lie, and we believed that lie. We were so excited for this next chapter in Zack Snyder's DC cinematic universe. So we went to the cinema, and something changed inside of us. Our anger, our hopes and dreams were broken, and we saw something very bad. But it wasn't a film. It was two pieces of two different people's visions. But let's be clear here. What Joss Whedon had wasn't a vision. He was a man. He was a fixer who was brought in to fix a problem that was never a problem. He had been promised a film. He'd been promised a whole career at Warner Brothers. So he took his 30 pieces of silver. It would be tempting for any of us to do that. So he put something together that he could never do. The remit from Sujihara was, under 2 hours, you have to do it under the same schedule as the same release. Now, Whedon knew this was impossible, and he knew it was a gamble, and he knew it could fuck his career forever. But he did it anyway, because he was desperate to make Batgirl. And if it paid off, this guy would have been running the whole universe. It was just a gamble that was never going to pay off. But as you're sitting in the cinema and you realise they fucked Zack. Not just Zack, they fucked us. They betrayed us all. Not a studio, Kevin Sujihara. Not a studio, Kevin Sujihara. When you talk about this situation, stop saying WB. It was Kevin Sujihara. As simple as that. And he put everyone else in an impossible situation, including Jeff Johns and Diane Nelson, right? Everyone. He put people in an impossible situation because it was a mess. He wanted to Marvelize it. He wanted $1 billion, and he wanted his bonuses and the shareholders' bonuses. You know what? When I came out after that film, I was a bit confused how to feel about it. So I tried to come up with reasons and say, oh, it's all right. I was trying to defend it. I was trying to defend Zack, Joss, everyone. It's only when I started hearing people speak, and at first when people were going up against WB and talking about people getting bonuses, I was like defending the studio, saying, you're talking rubbish, it's just one of those things, it happened, Zack left, it became a bit of a situation, but it's okay, Zack will be back. It became very clear, very quickly, that Zack wasn't coming back. In fact, I was surprised they didn't sack Zack after BVS, but they couldn't do that, because he went in straight away, while that film was in cinemas, to shoot Justice League. It became a situation where Kevin Sujihara didn't want Zack. Christopher Nolan was breathing heavy on them to keep Zack, and it was a mess because everyone's pulling in different directions. It's when you've got 60 cooks spoiling the broth. It couldn't work. So they wanted Zack out. So in the end, they pressured him to dumb down and water down his vision. Ultimately, he couldn't anymore. But I don't want to talk about Zack. I don't want to talk about Warner Brothers or Sujihara. I want to talk about us. Because when we came out of those theatres, we came out as different people. It changed us forever. And we became a movement, fighting so hard to release this cut. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when that fight is done? And for me, it won't be done. Because I've told you before, there's new phases. There's releasing the air cut and getting Zack back on this franchise. A most vital, pivotal final phase. But we went into that theatre as movie fans and came out as a rebellious movement, fighting. First of all, with that petition, which unfortunately was falsified with certain signatures. That was a shame. That was a bitter blow. And I thought it was over then. But then Fiona started something up. And she struck up a relationship with Zack. And the push started. Now, Fiona's taken a back seat. And that's understandable. She's just an ordinary young woman. I think she's a nurse. These things are hard. I don't think that we've ever had a leader in this movement. I just think this is a bunch of fans that knew what was done to a film and its creative was wrong. And we're about to get justice. But ultimately, my main aim, I want to see the fucking Snyder Cut. I want to see this film because it's going to be the quality, the level of quality from Man of Steel and BVS. And I want to see the continuation of that. I don't care if they don't smile enough. I don't care if it's not a Marvel movie. You have your Marvel movies. Go over to Disney Plus. Have a good time. Enjoy yourselves. I'm not trying to stop you enjoying your MCU. I have all the MCU films myself, and sometimes I watch them. Fair enough. But the DCEU was building under Zack Snyder being something special. And Sujihara lost his guts, lost his bravery, and he buckled and he made some insane decisions. I believe that Walter Hamada is doing a fabulous job. He came in at a very difficult time. The Joker's approaching $1 billion for a 50 to 70 million budget. The man's a genius. There's no question about that. What he's done is amazing. But I think there's room in this DC world of movies for Zack Snyder and Walter Hamada to strike up a beautiful partnership. And that, my friends, in the end, is what we want. We can have a balanced, varied bunch of films. The DCEU, the Batman verse, the Black Label verse. Something incredibly beautiful and varied. An epic can be built over at Warner Brothers with this DC universe of movies. And I can't wait to see it happen.